Welcome to the Making Magick podcast. Magic is the art of intentional transformation. It's the belief that you have the power to light your own path in this world. This podcast explores how that belief manifests itself through self care in our modern culture. I'm Ariana, and with me is Denyse, co founders of wellness brand Mythmagick. And today we'll be talking about building a business with your best friend. Welcome, Denyse.
Hey girl.
How's it going?
It is busy. There's a lot of stuff moving around in my life, but I'm making it happen. What's going on with you?
Same. We have a lot going on, I know, between the both of us. And that's really the purpose of today's episode, is to kind of like dig deeper into that. Now, I do have some like conversation starters from us, some statistics. You know how much I love statistics.
I do. I do.
But first, let's give the audience a brief history of how Myth Magic came together.
Can we also like give them a brief history of our friendship? Because I feel like that has been the core of Myth Magic, of how it came there. And that started well beyond the brand.
It did. It did. Uh, why don't you kick us off with the history of our friendship?
All right, let's talk about the history. So, Ariana and I both went to Pomona College. Whoop whoop. If you don't know about it, read about it, baby. 7% acceptance rate in the United States. One of the best liberal arts schools in the U.S. I think it's currently ranked number 4 U.S. News. So shout out to us, okay?
Look at you.
Sage hens, stand up, support. But no, for real. When did we go to college? 2007.
Correct.
2007. Pomona had a program, like it was like a sponsor group, right? Like everyone who lived on your hallway was part of your sponsor group, so you weren't like nervous and alone when you just like left your family and went to college, and like you were like, oh, who do I sit with? And Ariana and I lived across the hallway, and like I honestly, I didn't think we were gonna vibe. I was a much different person back then. I wasn't as centered. I wasn't as healed. I was just kind of like, I don't know about this girl. Not feeling it. And then somehow I was like, oh nah, like she's dope. And then like spent most of, I don't know, freshman year in your room eating pizza, and hanging out, watching TV, just chilling. And then we just realized we had a lot in common in terms of what we wanted in life and how we wanted to move forward. And we would just help each other and go places, go to parties, travel the world, and all that stuff.
Yeah, man, it's really fun thinking about the our origin story.
Yeah.
But yeah, we met in college, and we have been best friends ever since. We spent, uh, I spent 4 years after college living in Los Angeles, and one of two of those years, what am I talking about? 1 year. 2 of those years, I lived with Denyse.
Oh man.
Um,
In our funky K Town apartment, man, it was whew, we back then, man, it was bad. And I was like, man, this rent is so cheap, we can't leave. Ariana's like, nah, we gotta do better.
oh my god! But you know what? I really did like our second apartment, which was in the valley,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so quaint and pleasant and quiet, like compared to Koreatown.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had some good times. We would sit around the table and try to come up with ideas for how we could like start businesses.
Yeah.
We have like tried several things in the past. um, and we were really just young and just trying to learn as much as we could, but we were both incredibly ambitious. And so I think we just kept that same spark. And like getting to the business, what really sparked it for me is I had been working for a company, and due to the pandemic, I was furloughed from that company. And I had always, of course, had this dream of owning my own business, working for myself. And it was at that point that I kind of like had the the courage to just like move forward. And we were having a conversation. Now my memory is absolutely terrible. So
She's not lying, y'all. She's not lying.
if you know more details, please share. However, all I remember is that we were just like talking and vibing and like talking about what we wanted to do, and we ended up like coming out of that conversation and saying, let's just start a business together.
Well, my memory's a little different, but like it's also based off of like my current experience at that time. So I was also like I was working this job that I was just not a fan of. I was like, "Whew, this is too much. I need to figure out my life." So I am one of those sort of woo woo people that people, like I'm into the mystical stuff. So I was talking to a medium, very good close friend and medium, and she was like, Denyse, you need to really sit down and like write down what you want your life to look like 6 months from now. That's it. She's like, just write it down. And I said, well, I wrote down in my little journal. I wanna like start a business with my best friend, and I wanna live in this really like awesome place, and I wanna do this and that, and that's what I wanna do. That's what I can see 6 months from now. Fast forward a couple months, Ariana and I are talking on the phone, and she's talking about this idea of a business, and I'm like, oh my god, I manifested this. This is happening. So like that's kind of like the pre-work to me being like, oh yeah, bet. Like, cause if I write it down and then all of a sudden something pops up, I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I know all about your medium, but I did not remember that part of the puzzle.
No, recently my medium called me and she didn't even remember either. And she was like, oh, really? Okay, well, I'm glad it worked out.
I love that. I love that. It makes total sense that this business would have some spiritual beginnings.
Of course.
Of course.
Myth magic, baby. Now
exactly.
Now you really get it, guys. You get where all the mysticism comes from.
All right. Well, I do have a question to kind of kick things off with you.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that question, let us hear a word from our sponsor. All right. So, our fabulous podcast, Making Magick, is brought to you by mythmagick, where luxury meets minimalism. We've curated the finest products in one place, so your wellness rituals are relaxing, clean, and inspiring. Check out mythmagick's line of skincare and other wellness products at mythmagick.com. That's mythmagick.com. And now, back to the episode. So, Denyse, are you ready for this question?
Yes, I am. Hit me with the big ones.
Okay. What would you say has been your best day as a co-founder and your worst day as a co-founder?
Oh man, that's a great question. I feel like I love when we are in sync, right? And we're like we have all of these ideas and we're feeding off of each other and we're like, okay, I think about this way and we're very productive. I think that those days really excite me. The worst days are kind of hard because as an entrepreneur you don't always see the results very quickly, and Ariana and I are both very results achievement driven people, so when you don't see like the tangible like oh, blah blah blah, like it's hard to like sit with that. And I also like, so those can be like really hard days when we've set out to have some sort of campaign or convert different leads and all that stuff and it doesn't work out. The second part of it is like when I know that like I want to devote more time, and I just don't have the time or I'm not able to prioritize it. I just feel bad because I know I'm working with you and I don't want to like let you down. So like that's what about, yeah.
No, I really understand where you're coming from there. For me, the best day with the business has to be when we got that award for our cleanser in Essence magazine.
That was a good day.
It was an amazing day because
it was.
First of all, it's not just about the achievement, right? Like it's not just that, it's what it meant to me. So it was validation to me. It was like, okay, like all this work that's going into this company, it's tangible and it means something. And I can literally go and buy 5 magazines, which I did. And like my brand is in this. Like this came from my brain, and now it's in Essence magazine. That was a really, really awesome moment for me. I mean, like up until that point, we had been featured in a few different publications, like digital. But that was the first time that it was like something I could hold in my hands, which I really appreciated.
We were also randomly in that Italian magazine, but we couldn't get that one. But like, I get, like, but like, Essence is such a, it's so like important to the culture, and like you said, like to think about it, and I want you guys to think about it, who's listening to it. Like, you can come up with something in your head and create it and make it happen, and like see that, like, oh wow, I did that. Like, in a sense, we've made history.
Yes. I love that. Exactly. Like, we made history for ourselves. Like, there's something, like I said, that's tangible on earth that came from our brains. And to me, that's just really exciting. I absolutely love that. And that's the thing that I love most about building a business, is that it's like a manifestation of something that came from my head. But the worst day, I mean, I can't really pick out a specific worst day, like having this business, but I definitely can say that there have been many hard days, and a lot of those days kind of stem from all of the work that goes into building a business, and how to some extent you don't really know how it's going to be received, right? So like you can put in hours and hours and months of time building out a project and coming up with a launch plan, and then you might see results, but they're not exactly what you were looking for, and that's just because we can't predict the future. We can prepare ourselves as best that we can, but there's just some things that we can't control. And if you know me and Denyse, both of us have like an issue with like not being able to control everything.
I really didn't think that was my issue, but okay. See, that's what it goes into with having a business with your best friend. They really know you, and you're like, oh, all right, cool.
You're like, excuse me, but on this podcast, you just like gonna out me?
Yeah, just say like I might be a Virgo, just maybe,
Yes. Listen, she is a Virgo and I'm a Capricorn, and so like Earth energy all the way, and you already know.
Yeah, it'd be intense. Don't play any games with us too, because we're too competitive, too cutthroat for me, man. You try to play Uno with Ariana and the vengeance comes out.
You know what? She keeps on saying this. She keeps on
truth.
saying this.
Truth.
No comment. Okay.
Okay.
No
Moving
comment.
on.
So now digging in a little more, there is a dark side of entrepreneurship that people really don't discuss. And that is mental health.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're familiar with HubSpot, but it's like a well-known digital marketing blog. And their blog is called The Hustle. And they surveyed more than 300 entrepreneurs on the state of their mental health. And 63% of those entrepreneurs reported dealing with burnout. And 59% say that they are dealing with anxiety. Top stressors that they mentioned were financial concerns, followed by day-to-day stress, work-life balance, and uncertainty about the future. Entrepreneurs are actually more vulnerable to experiencing mental illness than any other group. Isn't that really interesting? And yet, there are very few resources that specifically cater to the mental issues that entrepreneurs face. And just to run off a couple more stats before we get into the conversation, entrepreneurs are twice as likely to suffer from depression, 6 times more likely to suffer from ADHD, 3 times more likely to suffer from substance abuse, 10 times more likely to suffer from bipolar disorder, and twice more likely to have suicidal thoughts. Reading this, it was really, really interesting for me because it kind of opened up the door to a lot of questions. And I will say that because there are few resources in this area, there definitely needs to be more study. But it's interesting to think like that this group is so susceptible to these specific mental illnesses and issues. And I wonder if it's that entrepreneurs are either more susceptible to like developing mental illness, or if individuals who have these mental illnesses are more likely to kind of want to forge their own path and go out on their own and start a business. That's really interesting to me.
It's like, who crossed the road first, the chicken or the egg? That type of comparison.
Yes, yes. But when you think about stress, anxiety, I mentioned like suicidal thoughts. I can understand where that comes from, especially like the bigger your business becomes, the more stressors that are going to be placed on you. A lot of the information that I was reading was about entrepreneurs just being afraid because they're responsible for employees, right? So they want to make sure that they're able to continue to keep their business afloat so that these people that they employ can continue making a living and feeding their families. So it is a lot on their minds. But what are some of your initial thoughts, like just listening to those statistics?
I mean, I think my first thought was like, thank goodness I'm in therapy, because man, that's a lot, to take care of your mental health, making sure that you have a place and you can get the tools that you need to deal with all of the challenges that come your way. And I also think about how our business is very different in the sense that, while yes, we are a business, we are for profit, but our business is about helping people get well. Like, if you sum it down, so if we aren't well, then how can we help others? So I kind of think, and I think, and it goes back to like having a business with your BFF and being able to talk. We've had conversations offline and being like, hey, like, we started this because we wanted to help other people be well. Like, we wanted to have fun together. We wanted to create ideas. And when it starts to like not be like that and we're stressed out because of it, we have to check in, right? Because that goes against the mission statement of what we set out to do.
Period. Yes. You're right. You're absolutely right. How do you deal with any negative thoughts that might come up about the business?
It's challenging. I think we've spoken openly, like in terms like communicating with you, saying, hey, this is where I'm at. And it helps me when you let me know where you're at too. So when I have like negative thoughts, it's also like how do we address them? Because sometimes it's like, it taps into all of these other stuff, like, oh, this didn't work, so does that mean that I don't know what no, it doesn't. There's a lot of things, like a lot of times you'll get a lot of no's and you'll have a lot before there's a yes, and it's about a process and a journey. So I think that what I do is I try to just get more perspective and zoom out of what my current state is and think about what that future state, what I want that to look like and how to get there. So that's what helps funnel the positive back in. But I'll be completely honest with you guys, it's hard. You'll be like, oh my gosh, like, we put in all this work, we put in all this effort, we are doing this for like, to help other people, and we might not always feel that back, right? And so that's hard.
It is hard. I think that, like, for me, how I deal with those negative thoughts, I do deal with like doubt, like a lot of doubt, and questioning. And how I handle it is I just remind myself that that is what I do. Like I try to be as self-aware as I can, like when it comes to how I handle things. And sometimes it feels like it's kind of out of your control and your mind just kind of goes there. But for me, if you have that awareness that that is your tendency, then you can always talk yourself out of it or push through it, right? So that's why I think like self-awareness is super important. And I think as an entrepreneur, it's important as well. Because if you just think about it, like you are forging a brand new path, like there was nothing that existed before. And so that is incredibly scary. And for a lot of people, you are going to be doubting yourself. Yes, like all the time. You will doubt yourself. And so you just need to realize and understand that, you know what, I'm doubting myself right now. That's okay. I'm still going to do this. I think that's important.
I think that's a very good tidbit. Like, know yourself, know where you're at, and like know the type of person you are. So you're like, oh, this is just how I react to things. So it's not really that deep.
Exactly. Um, so this question is really interesting because I think a lot of people might not know this about the both of us, but Denyse and I work 9 to 5 jobs, and on top of that, we are managing this business. So, Denyse, tell me a little bit about that journey for you of working a 9 to 5 and also working on Myth Magic.
Y'all, it is so hard. Ariana and I bust our ass. And I'm gonna have to let you guys know this is how we have operated for many years, and it is very difficult. I have a very demanding 9 to 5. And so it's challenging because it's like trying to find time to take care of yourself too, right? We preach about wellness. So you can't be working 24 hours a day. That's not sustainable. So thinking about how to carve out those spaces, I think has been a challenge, and things that are like we've been working through, right? Trying to figure that out, but it's super hard because those this 9 to 5 is taxing, but in part of my self-work, I'm learning how to make it not as taxing and not as hard. I was speaking actually to my therapist, and she said, we as women, we bring our whole body, like our liver, our organs, everything into these meetings, and it's not worth your health, right? Like, and so you have to do physical like practices of self-care to make sure that you're not over giving in these spaces. And so learning how to manage that is helping me to be able to make more time for my goals, my dreams of what my passion is, right? So that's how I'm managing it. How about you?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. It's really like this is a journey for me as well. It's something that I'm still working on. It's going to be hard. Like I don't think it's ever going to be easy to have a 9 to 5 and also manage a business. But the one thing that I can do is focus on like take control of my career, right? Which is what we kind of talked about in the previous episode. Is like I like my current career is in social media marketing, and I have been in that industry for many years now. But my passion lies in owning my own business, right? And so I do have to manage both, and I do have to do good work, right? In that 9 to 5, but I don't have to overextend myself because, that passion, that extra drive, that extra inspiration, that needs to go to Myth Magic. And so that's how I approach it. And like I said, it's an ongoing process, but in an ideal world, I will be able to, continue to deliver for my job, but then reserve some of that ambition and inspiration and creativity and strategy for Myth Magic. Go ahead.
Little plug in there. In an ideal world, we only do myth magic, and whoever, if you're listening out there and you want to give us lots of money to do that, I'm giving you permission right now.
Amen. Okay. Absolutely. Um, Denyse, is there any? Do you have any like burning questions for me as your co-founder that you've never gotten to ask me before?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's see. What type of question do I want to ask you? Hmm. Do I want to pick a question that will like make me happy or mad? I think that's what I'm thinking about. Um, what's your favorite thing about working with me?
Oh my goodness. My favorite thing about working with you is hands down your optimism. Like I feel like it's necessary. Um, every entrepreneur needs to have a certain level of optimism, um, both grounded in reality and also not grounded in reality. And like I know that sounds funny, but it's true because like I said, a business is something that was nothing before, and so like you have to have the audacity, like you have to have the extreme optimism to say to yourself, I'm going to build something out of nothing, and it's going to be crazy successful, right? And people are going to be coming out of the woodwork to buy this product that I created out of nothing. Like that is an extreme form of optimism, right? And you need that. And so I feel like you provide that for Myth Magick. And obviously, like, I have my strengths too, but that's definitely a strength that you have.
Thank you, thank you. I definitely picked that question on like wanting to feel good. So I'll tell you what I love about working with. I like Ariana is so fucking brilliant, y'all, and like just so organized. Like I need that in a co-founder. Like I could be a little all over the place, but Ariana helps bring it together, right? She helps drive a vision forward, and I sit there and I think, okay, how do we pump her up? How do we do this? Like, what do we need to do to be able to get to this vision? And you have to have like that working dynamic works for us. And I just again, I love how brilliant you are. I love how focused and dedicated to when you say you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it, and that's in your personal life and that's in your professional life, and I can count on that.
Man, this has been a true high note. Well, this is great. Like, I think that there needs to be a lot more conversations like this, right? Like, when it comes to entrepreneurs and just what's going on in here. Like, it's not all roses and sunshine.
No,
Okay.
no, it's not.
There's a lot that goes into it, and I do feel like there should just be more candid conversations like this one about like how people are getting through, like how are they managing, because you hear at the top of the ladder, Elon Musk has all these quotes about this and that, and how Tesla came to be, and people kind of like really worship that, you know what I mean? But what about the stories about people grinding, like in the beginning,
It's a
right?
grind. Whew.
It's a grind. And if people are more aware of the struggle, then I think they could just be more realistic about expectations, and maybe people won't consider themselves a failure or just give up too early, right? Because they're kind of expecting this overnight success, and that's not the reality. And then also when it comes to mental health, there should be a lot more conversation about how entrepreneurs are dealing with mental health. It's incredibly important because being an entrepreneur is very stressful. It's not just, oh, I had an idea for a business and then the next day everyone bought it and then I became a millionaire. Like, that's not it. And so you have to take care of yourself during that grinding part, during that struggle in the beginning. And you need to know that you're not alone, that like other entrepreneurs are dealing with the exact same thing. And we need to be helping each other.
And period. Like you said all that. We need to be helping each other. We need to be speaking about the issues. I think that's so important. And I guess I want to turn it over to the audience if they have any questions about starting a business with your best friend or starting a business on your own. Like, what are some of the challenges that you're facing? Let us know.
All right. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Um, we hope that we inspires you to think a little bit deeper about mental health and entrepreneurship. And if you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening to right now. If you're watching, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you next time on Making Magick.